Hello, my name is Bryce Hurst. Thank you for having me. I was asked by France's management to talk a little bit about the issues and opportunities that are going on right now in the France region. So let's jump into it. If we were to compare the 25 regions for Contoso, right now France is rated at fifth lowest for total sales and ranked third lowest in sales per store. So there are some opportunities at this point in time. Now there's over off to the right, France is highlighted in yellow, so you can see exactly where we are at. So just like you, I was wondering, okay, what is the reason that the France region is lower than some of these other areas, a lot of these other areas. And so we grabbed the top 5 regions for sales per store, and we decided to compare those against France to see where the factor was. And so at first we thought maybe it's the retails, maybe our prices are too high. So we looked at the gross margin, and that was definitely not the case. France was very, very similar to these top 5 regions. Then we decided, you know what, let's go and look at the cost per unit. Maybe our costs are higher in France. And once again, they were very, very similar, and that was definitely not it as well. In fact, France had a lower cost, just slight lower cost than those other areas. So we continued to dig, and we thought, well, maybe it's the number of products. Maybe we don't have enough products in France or enough variety. And once again, very, very similar, only about a 12 amount difference. Then we said, okay, it's got to be the square footage. Maybe there's just not enough square footage for our stores for France. And we looked at that, and that was definitely not the case, as France has more square footage than some of these other high-performing regions. And so we said, all right, let's keep going. We're going to find it. And then we did. We hit the root of the problem. We pulled up employees, the amount of employees per store. And if you'll notice off to the graph to the right, all of the top performing regions have at least 50 employees or more. And if you look at France, there's only 16 employees per store. So it's significantly different. In fact, France is the lowest, has the lowest amount of employees per store out of all of the company. So next, because we did find this, we want to make sure that sales really, there is a correlation between sales and the amount of employees in the store. We wanted to make sure that there really was a big need there, and that was the problem. So we pulled up the top 3 regions, as we've talked about before, and those regions were all earned about 22 million in sales, their sales per store for these past 3 years. And all of those areas, once again, had 53 employees or more. Then we also pulled the lowest performing stores, the 3 lowest performing stores, which were, and that's once again sales per store. So that's Italy, East Germany, and then France. And those areas are performing about 14 million sales per store. And when we looked at the employees, it went hand in hand exactly with what we've been seeing, is that less employees. These areas had 31 employees or less, and they were also the ones that weren't performing as high. So there was definitely a high correlation between the amount of employees and the sales. All right, so there are some great opportunities that France has, believe it or not, with the right now, if you were to take one employee, one of France's employees, and compare it to one of any of the other divisions' employees, the France's employee would earn more sales than the other employee. Now you might be thinking, okay, wait a second, how's that supposed to be? If one employee, if the France employees are really that effective, their average dollar earned per employee is so high, why aren't we making quite as much sales as everyone else? Well, the reason is it's because there's not as many employees in the France stores. So it's not really carrying over to sales. To give you an idea, we've already talked about how France has 16 employees per store. But to give you an idea, the company average is 35 employees per store. So France is half the amount. It means they're working twice as hard. They're going to have to work twice as hard as the average store. They definitely are understaffed. There's some of the references there. So, all right, how are we going to track this, and what's our recommended solution? All right, so the action that we recommend is that starting this month, the France region should begin the hiring process to increase the number of employees by 31%. Now that would mean that there's 5 new employees to be hired, and that would bring the count of about 21 employees per store. This would also increase the total number of employees to 151 employees. Now, as nice as it would be, obviously 21 still not even near the average quite yet, but we can't have everyone be trained all at once. That would have some counterproductivity to it. And so in 6 months' time, after the first wave of employees have been trained, then those second wave employees would be trained again. That would be our recommendation at this point. Now, obviously, there's going to be impacts. We anticipate in 6 months' time that the sales revenue per employee would decrease by about 3 to 5%. Obviously, due to training or someone just being new, learning things, that's going to bring that a little bit down. However, the total sales should grow by 5 to 10%. Now, what would the outcome be because of that? Well, the outcome, of course, is that in a year, our annual sales will increase. Although the gross margins are going to stay about the same, the total gross sales for the region will have grown to about 5 to 10%. And so how are we going to track this? Well, we have our 2 what we call key performance indicators, KPIs. Off in the top left area there, we've got annual gross sales. And the dotted line, the red dotted line, is our target. So it doesn't look extremely high at this point, but with us heading down in the opposite direction, it would be a big turn in the right direction. A good start. Now, the other thing I want to bring up is off to the right, the total sales per store. What that is that's how much the stores need to do, each store needs to do in order to meet that target goal. And so they also have the dotted line there. You can clearly see that the Marcel store would need to, there's a good opportunity there to boost them, and that would help out the company or the region significantly. Now down at the bottom left hand corner, we've got this is kind of neat. It will help us track the employees per store. It'll help us with the number of transactions and the store size. If you go over to those blue circles, it will tell you how many employees we have, the transactions, and the store size. So it'll help us really track that a little bit easier. The other thing is in the middle there, we've got the France's number of employees. That is a running total that every time we load the information, it will tell us how many employees we do have, total employees we have in the France region. And then below that is the average number of employees that the whole company has. So it's kind of a good comparison between the two. And below that would be the average amount of employees per store, which right now, as we've said a few times, is that there's 16 employees, and that's compared to the average employee below that, which is the company average of 35. Now, last of all, we don't want to just be hiring people and then and just thinking that's going to solve the problem. Even though that should definitely help, we still need to make sure that we are effective. We don't want to lose the effectiveness of the France region. That's something that they really have going for them. So over in the right-hand corner, we have a good graph or a chart where we can track the effectiveness of each store. There's 7 stores in France and the France region, so we can track the effectiveness and see if it really is going down or going up. So these are our great the 2 top key performance indicators, and then the bottom 2 to keep our eyes on that we are doing this effectively and wisely. Anyways, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to working with you more in the future.